Le sprinkler techno.
Most of the time, people know DevOps. They don't know much about DevOps. They know about CICD and automation.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they think about.
Mm-hmm.
How, from your perspective, and it's a trick question because I kind of know the answer, but I want to have your take on that one. Is building a CICD the utmost important thing you need to do if you want to be in a DevOps culture?
Yeah, so you're mixing. So again, like I said before, you have the culture part and the architecture and the tooling part, right? And they're very symbiotic. So if you just build the tooling and you don't have the culture, you're not DevOps, right? If you just have the culture, but you don't have any of the tooling, well, you're not DevOps either. So really, for me, DevOps is built, I used to use this diagram of like a pyramid to say, in my mind, what it was built on. This is kind of like when I first discovered there was even a term for it, right? But I mean, again, virtualization and the ability to shift left on test automation was huge. It's a huge turning point, right, in software with what you can do earlier on. User experience, another really important one, I think is very important from DevOps, understanding how your software is used, how it's consumed, and taking that feedback, right? It's a lot about the feedback loops. And then also sharing that pain of, you know, you're all on board until things are running in production smoothly. And if you take it even like Google does with their SRE teams, right? Sometimes the teams who did the service are actually monitoring their service. They're the ones who get the pager, right? And, you know, Google, people will joke like, you know, code quality got a lot better when developers started carrying pagers.
But it's true.
So yeah, because you feel the pain. It's a lot about empathy, right? And when I started using that word like 10 years ago about empathy, people would look at me like, we're in software, are you crazy? Empathy, like this is whatever. But now it's like a pretty ubiquitous word. It's really about understanding your customer, understanding how they use your services and understanding their needs. And then also sharing that central goal, right? That we've created value for the company when our code is running in production, you know, securely with quality. And that should be all of our goal, even if you're in like HR, or even if you're in finance or whatever other part of the company. This is how we make money, and we should all be trying to work towards supporting that in whatever way we can. But maybe I just gave you a really fluffy answer to your thing, but I think that DevOps it's both. It's culture and it's the tooling and the architecture. And with only one of those elements, you don't have the full benefit. DevOps as a term, it's overloaded, just like Agile got overloaded, right? DevOps becomes like this DevOps engineer, a term, like I need a DevOps. It basically means you need someone who does cloud orchestration. I mean, that's basically what it's become, right? Or somebody who does like your pipeline or like whatever. To me, that's not what DevOps is. That's just a tool and enablement, right? To be doing, to be building more of the automation that's needed to put the features into production faster with security and quality.
So we both agree, we all agree, I guess, that there's no DevOps team that take care of the pipeline.
So that's an interesting point, right? Like, so it depends on the size of your organization, and I've seen different models. Some organizations, like Spotify's one, they have a cloud engineering team. They have a cloud engineering team that builds tools that the development teams consume, right, or use. Does that model scale better than stretching things out across? It depends on the size of your organization, right? If you're a 2-pizza team, I would say everybody in there should be doing infrastructure as code. Everyone should know what infrastructure as code is. They should know how to write their Jenkins jobs or their Git jobs or whatever it is to do their automated test, full stack, right? And they should all be participating in the always green. So it should never be just whoever. It's never that one guy who always like will look at the Jenkins failures and be like, oh, I'll go fix them and figure it out. It's whoever looks at it first, right? It should really be that. But if you're in a large organization like a Spotify or something, you might want to pave road some of your tools, right? You want the development teams and the developers to be able to use what they need to get their job done. But you also want to offer some paved road tools and scale those out across the company. And that's a decision that they've taken. So do you call that a DevOps team? To me, it's not a DevOps team. It's a cloud engineering, or it's a pipeline team, or something like that.
And I agree with your description. What I meant was, you know, when you don't deploy your stuff, when you don't do create new jobs in Jenkins, I do agree that dev teams in a sizable company won't never have to install a YAS or a PAS or do orchestration of some sorts, or install Jenkins, for instance. Those things has to be delivered by operations as utility. You know, I want electricity. I want my monitor to open when I click my button. Well, I need to plug it in the wall, and I have faith that electricity would power my my monitor. I think it's the same. Those, you know, having your pods, your instances, or whatever you call them, your VMs, you should rely on the fact that other people, operations, cloud, whatever, have been working very hard to put that in place for you, and you can use them. But you have to be knowledgeable enough. You know, the intersection between dev and operation is, to me, it means that you need to be knowledgeable enough to be able to configure them and to deploy them and use them.
And I don't think you should have to call the ops, the whatever we're calling the people who actually do the, I don't think you should have to call them every time you have a new idea. There should be an infrastructure there that should allow you to have a new idea without having to bring them the people who know the cloud in every time, because then at some point you become again dev and ops. I think I should be able to deploy my stuff. It should be magical, for use of that word. But at some point, if I have to call somebody in another team every time I want to do something, then you're probably doing it wrong.
But not too magical, though. Not too magical.
No.
I want the person to be able to say, it's not working this time. Maybe I should have a look at the logs. Maybe I should try to, you know, having basic understanding of what you have control and what you can do. And then if it's outside of that scope, well, then you reach out to someone who's very knowledgeable. It's same with security. You do your basic maintenance, your hygiene stuff. And then if it's not enough, it still smells, you go and you ask for someone who's very knowledgeable about it.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I think like that, I agree 100%. I mean, every company will have their own definition of done for their teams, right? For me, the golden standard is that your definition of done is it's running in production reliably with security, and and you're owning the any issues that come through, right? As a team. To me, that's done. And that you have the competencies in the team to deliver that feature, or you bring them in to help you, but you don't hand it over. You're not waiting for external people, because then you're actually breaking fundamental rules of Agile, right? Of Scrum. If you're reliant on somebody outside your team to be able to deliver, well, that's actually really not a good Agile practice, right?
No.
But it, you know, in reality it happens, but we should minimize that.
No. Yeah. The reason I like your definition of done is that, and I've had arguments in places where I've been before, the reason I like it's because it's simple and it's clear, because I've worked in places where they were having discussions on what is the definition of done. The definition of done is if your code is finished and you've done your unit test. Yeah, but it might not work in integration. So are you done when you've done that? Should you sit and wait until integration testing has been done? And you keep going into these weird circular discussions where, no, it's done when it's in production, but you can't do that if you don't have an efficient pipeline to deliver to production.
Exactly.
And that causes, but those discussions happen in financial institutions all the time. It's annoying because there's so many steps that you need to go through and nobody's willing to automate them.
Yeah. The other challenge though with having that pipeline and having the confidence in the pipeline is a lot of you know, if you haven't done this from the beginning and you're not a Facebook or a Spotify or a Netflix or whatever, right? The unicorns we often hear about, it takes time also to build the trust, right? Because if you're going to push through, you know, stuff that's going to break, especially on a financial institution, you know, if you're going to push through code that's going to break the app on everybody's phone that they're doing their banking with, and the recovery time, because you don't have a really nice, robust pipeline that you can push things through quickly with the quality, means your time to remediation, like your MTTR, right, is going to be really bad too, which means you can't recover. And that's where, like, if you look at Netflix running their Symbian army, right, like on their production systems, what that is so powerful about it. It's not like, oh, they've got the balls to do that. It's like, you have to, and people who are in software will understand the level of quality and confidence that they must have in their ability to recover if something goes wrong, to discover and recover if something goes wrong by running all of these, like, performance and whatever they're doing, break and destroy tests and everything on their live production system. It's incredible. And you have to have respect for that, to say that that just speaks volumes. I don't even have to know about their development pipeline to understand that what they're doing, what it says about their development pipeline and their processes and the confidence that they have in it.